Promoting patriotic education, an actual GOP quote from the 1776 Commission. Manifest Destiny, the white privilege OG, privatizing freedom since 1843, financing it with white pride, genocide, and slavery, amassing a fortune that still feeds the festering GOP, or should we call it the new Confederacy. Commissioning 1776 so they can get yet another fix. They still want us turning their tricks because every pimp needs their hose. In their bizarre reality, they normalize insanity while selling out humanity just to afford their own status quos. You see, white privilege is Western Civ, required curriculum, while everyone else is just an elective. Hello, thank you for coming. We appreciate you being here. Before we get started, I would like to thank Miramar College. I would like to thank the Idea Committee. I would like to thank the Lead Office for supporting and for sponsoring this event. Special thanks to Judy, who is the committee chair, who helped me get money to pay poets, because poets should be paid. So we are here today celebrating how we can hear marginalized voices through poetry. And this month we are celebrating Black American Heritage. Some of you know it as Black History Month. I like to call it Black American Heritage because Black history and Black American history are two very different things. And Black American history is very, very specific to a lot of things that those of us who don't live in that world do not understand. So hopefully this is a way that we can at least try to understand and maybe become allies and maybe work together and, you know, move forward. Wouldn't that be nice? So without further ado, I'm not going to sit up here and talk because I am not part of that history. So I will let you hear it directly from the people who've lived it. So first and foremost, I would like to invite up a local, amazing poet, one of the premier Black women voices of our time. Stacy Ardis Dyson is a poet, a cappella vocalist, and playwright who specializes in the life and times of Black women. Ms. Dyson has done program design, residencies, workshops, and live performances all over America. She is the author of 7 collections of poetry and 5 poetry spoken word CDs, which I'm sure you can purchase from her if you would like to speak to her afterwards, because we need to pay poets. She is a former Poet Laureate for Imagination Celebration out of Colorado Springs and a nominee for Poet Laureate for the state of Colorado. She is also a Pikes Peak Community Foundation Individual Merit Award recipient and a Colorado Women's Playwright Festival winner, and I am proud to say she is my friend and part of my poetic family. And it is my honor and privilege and a gift to introduce to you Miss Stacy Ardis Dyson.
So first things first, y'all gonna have to do better than that.
You tell it, Miss Stacy.
I do not perform poetry. I have church, so I expect y'all to get a little loud up in here. Okay? I will tell you what I tell all of my audiences. If the poet says something that you like, you may snap, you may clap, you may do a little holy dance in the aisles, whatever works for you. Okay. If the poet says something that you don't like, you may keep it to yourself because I don't need to hear about it. Now, I am famous, infamous, for not dealing with titles. So all I'm going to tell y'all is pay attention and hang on. I am trying to teach Hannah the history of music in this country, which means we have to start with slavery, with cries to God for mercy and a better place with signal songs and the Underground Railroad. Hannah wanted to know if the slaves ran away because they did something wrong. Were they bad people? Then why were they running? Hannah is in the 4th grade. Her school ignores Black History Month. Apparently, they do not find it relevant to a Christian education. I got sick to my stomach, upset, angry, but tried to answer, still needed to answer. I did what I could, but her parents should have done more. I did what her school should be required to do. I am so tired of people raising their children to not see color. In other words, not raising them to celebrate individuality, not to cherish and protect difference. I am tired of people lying to their children that we are all the same. It's not true. It's not fair. It's not what I've been sick to my stomach, heartbroken over since this time last year. I am going to use the word complicit here. And that will make some of you angry. And some of you uncomfortable. But you are complicit in destroying any hope of Black America ever becoming part of America when you feed that crap to your children. You are negating every struggle, every tear, every ounce of blood spilled in trying to make a way to acceptance for any one person of color, any one Black person, any indigenous person who lives by their wits and through the souls and stories of our ancestors, the only thing that has kept us alive until now. We should all be the same legally. Yes, all given the same opportunities. Yes, all guaranteed equal and just treatment in every avenue, every aspect of life, but making us one angered and unwieldy lump of homogeneity does nothing but make life easier for you. Keeps away the discomfort. Allows you to walk through life ignoring the reality of things. You are in service to a broken and lying ideal, not the education of your children, and it should not be my job to do your job. If you don't see color, you don't see me. If you don't see differences, you are dismissing the lives and realities of 3/4 of the planet. If you cannot open your heart and throat at the same time to acknowledge that I am not the same as you, as your family, ancestors, lifestyle, dream of the perfect place, you are not just in denial. You are spitting in the face of every child jailed, every woman raped, every man swinging from the closest tree branch in the name of a promise of equality. You are a liar, and a dangerous one at that. Because you teach those lies to your children and walk away thinking you have done a good thing, when all you have done is teach them that their comfort level is more important than the truth. Fire marked the sky near Hannah's house last year. Protesters' voices rang over and through night wind. I am truly glad that she and her family are safe, that her parents kept her and her brother inside. The streets were no place for anyone's children that night. But I wish they had taken the time to stand in their yard, see the flames, hear the voices that explained that the smoke in the air would linger because Black people were being murdered for no reason. Explained that the world is not fair or equal. Explained that everyone should be treated the same but is not the same, that everyone should see color, respect differences. I wish they had done a better job so that I wouldn't be doing that job again right now. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being back away slowly from the cookout, nobody needs to get hurt, and 10 being me offering physical violence to elders, as in I will slap your grandma and mine in the middle of Main Street at high noon for this. My irritation level is at about 45 and rising. All this crying and pearl clutching got me in a non-conciliatory frame of mind. Miss me with that noise, please. Yeah. Why is my pain only validated by your distress? When Black, brown women cry for their babies, why is it necessary for white tears to validate the experience? Is it because we've done it so often that our tears are invisible? Don't count anymore? Why is any conversation always at your behest? We've been wanting to talk for centuries now. Why are our lives suddenly worth taking notice? Because you finally decided to take notice? Well, then, it must be important. Check it. One white woman got upset one morning, spilled her coffee, got national headlines, and changed the law. We get upset every morning, every hour of every day, spill all the tea, and get called gossips, abrasive, nasty, and non-pleasing. I was raised up carefully, well-born, and well-bred. So the most I can say to that is you you may personally kiss it right here, cause F that S. Yeah, go on and laugh, but I have ancestors to answer to. Sorry, Grandma. Speaking for sisters everywhere, keep our names out of your mouths, because in case you hadn't got the memo, whatever you start, we are going to finish. Don't waste your tears on trying to impress us with your pain. We live where you only visit. And tourists, quite frankly, are not welcome. Sisters bleed, bond, and back each other up. Y'all want to eat the cake and not clean up the kitchen. Then get upset when your dainty selves catch hands or our ambitious dreams without stopping to drink at the river of your opinions. Some of y'all so weak, you can't even take a Becky between the eyes. Can't get hit with the truth without crying about your stress level. Keep self-importantly screaming, you're the one making it about race. Well, yeah, because it is. It always has been. You want to call me sister? Prove you fight like I do. That's right, you have to prove it. Don't want to see your pink cat hat or your notorious RBG t-shirt. Show me oppression turned into beauty marks, like children with full bellies and laws that protect everybody. Show me relationships full of truth, not convenience. Show me your soul's tears hit the earth and birth renewable energies like gold and water and real love. You want me to call you sister? Listen to me. Stop using me. Celebrate who I am without making me use your mirror. Back me up. Honor and sing my songs too. Stop trying to be me when it suits or it's fashionable. Just be real. Do you. And if that sounds like too much, well, let's just put it this way. If after using my milk to suckle your children, after raising those children so they could sell or slave me and mine, after scrubbing your floors and clothes so you could go to fundraisers where I got talked about as the problem, after being given the backseat in movements I bled out over, after moving ahead as an exemplar of my sisters, only to be judged by the standards by which the world celebrates everything you do or say or decide to be, if after all that you decide we're ungrateful or impatient or too angry, you know what? You may personally can unreservedly kiss it right here. Cause F that is. Sorry, Grandma. White glove wearing, sipping tea. The ladies our mothers raised us to be, hair did, legs crossed, skirts below the knee. My sisters, we be proper. Nutmeg sip champagne cross town. Chitlins and collards for pretty brown. Business girl, true ebony, just laying it down. Gold mellow, burnt cedar, beige copper. In the club, booty popping, raw as hell. Next morning, we got tales to tell. Who went home with him and who landed in jail. My sisters, we be jamming. Mini dashiki, heels and boots, Chanel and Tommy girl, handmade suits, clothes that flash our legs, and boots. Our fashion sense be slamming. Brunette, brownette, blonde and red, perm, afro, braided, beaded, dreads, girl, either shave it or grease that nappy head. My sisters, we do our hair. Say your man do his do until the sun fall out the sky. Make you holler till you hungry. Make you scream and sweat and cry, but you catch him double dipping, slam that door and holler, bye. Cause my sisters, we do not share. Vanilla, almonds, jasmine rose. Magnolias and sugar from our head to toes. Mango, linden flower scent our skin and clothes. My sisters, we are delicious. Can't believe what just got told. Better back it up, heifer, slow your roll. I'll whip butt till I can't swing no more. My sisters can be vicious. Abandoned mothers, broke and blue, crackhead hoes without a clue. Grandma warning, don't make me come see about you. Ain't all good, but we keep on praying. dark and skinny, light and thick. Can't stand no man with a little sense of his own worth and responsibilities, not working and living in his mama's basement. My sisters don't be playing. Light the incense, sing the praise, kneel in silence all your days. Bible, Koran, Talmud learn, God takes his tithe in time and tears. Our hearts will break, but our faith will burn. Why, the fool? Go holler and shout. Bitch, who you calling out? I'll get Vaseline and take my earrings out. My sisters, we be banging. Yeah, we wild. Yeah, we proud. Yeah, we stand out in a crowd. Some might get the nerve to call us rowdy. My sisters, we just be hanging. Every man on the planet want to be our man. From Jamaica Queens to Pakistan, multi-millionaires to the garbage man. My ladies, we are admired. We can't be quiet, won't be tamed. You better not call us out our name. We might love the players, but we hate the games. We're not things to be acquired. Still judging just off what you see. Look, you do you and I'll do me. We can't be labeled that easily, my sisters. We just be. We be. Y'all are sweet. Not nearly loud enough, but you're sweet. Is it cool? All right. I've got two more pieces for you all. And, well, I trying to leave time for the other poet here. This is part of what will be my new collection to be released sometime before I die, called Because the Sun Would Not Move. Well, I'm not moving to Texas anymore. I know it's all I've talked about for months. Don't get me wrong. I was seriously thrilled when my friend gifted me an RV. I had to move, didn't want to fly because, COVID and people being generally nasty and me being non-trusting and suspicious of other folks' personal hygiene. Anyway, I was thrilled. Had called my nephews who live in Odessa. Your auntie is coming down. Why don't y'all come get me? We can make up for some lost time, lost years. It was the paperwork holding us up. The tags and plates came, it all started to be real. And then it was just waiting for the title. I did the research. Everybody said, well, yeah, you can drive without it as long as it's recorded somewhere. And I had the receipt. I knew that electronically it was on file. It existed. But I needed it in my hand. I had to have that small square piece of paper in my hand. Because I had two young black men coming to drive me into Texas. And I did not feel sure or safe without that little small piece of paper in my hand. There was some holdup, some glitch. It kept getting delayed. And I was starting to get eaten up with this dread, this fear taking over all of my chest when I said, oh yes, my nephews are going to drive me there. My two young black nephews were going to drive me there. I sounded brave. But I would put down the phone or get off the chat and my hands would shake. I could feel the quiver in my voice. I kept having to wipe tears off my face and clothes because my two young black nephews were coming to drive me into Texas in an RV with shiny new plates and tags, recently gifted me. Legalities and civil rights never seem to make a difference down there unless it's on the side of the police or old vindictive white men, or laws that should have been off the books decades ago, should never have existed decades ago. And I had two young black men driving a newly titled RV, and their aunt who is old enough to remember girls being blown up in Sunday school, and why strange fruit is still a necessary bitter reminder sung in mother's tears and defiant desperation, and folks who have died while engaged in the unholy commission of being while black. The delay was longer than expected. That's when I started having the nightmares. My boys, yes, they are grown, but they will always be my boys. Breezing through a dust blue Texas night, stars showering down the way they do in the panhandle sometimes, laughing, listening to their granddad's favorite Motown and Silk Sonic. Then the cop blows out of nowhere, steps off his bike, puts his hand on his holster because these are two young black men in a newly gifted RV, and it's a long, lonely highway, and he is bored, or maybe they passed the stop sign a little too soon, or maybe he hasn't made his quota for the night, or maybe just because they are two young black men laughing and not caring where they are except to come and get me. He wants the paperwork, license, registration. He sees the name on the papers isn't theirs, tells them to step out. They're smart. They've been trained the way we have to train our children these days with the police. They step, they are quiet, they do not talk back, they do not give attitude. But I know my boys, and their eyes are angry, and their mouths and throats are tight, and they are swallowing humiliation and remembering the story I told them about their granddad being pulled over with me in the car, and that title is shaking in their hands along with the license and registration, and the cop takes their angry eyes and tight mouths as a threat. At least that is what he will say in court, that he feared for his life, and they will face down on that lonely highway, maybe still alive, maybe not. I should have been happy, but I got sick when it came. I felt as if I would be handing them a death warrant, and I could not let a piece of paper kill my boys. Could not let some small square piece of paper be the thing that let some cop murder my two young black men under a Texas sky. I've been a lot of things to my guys. I would not be the messenger of the thing that might get them killed. And I know you're saying that's ridiculous, or that they could be stopped anywhere, but right now, Texas is a place where murdered children's cries are still echoing in school corridors, where the destiny of a woman's freedom to her body is not a recognized fact, where there are still sundown towns and a need for the new green book. And two young black men singing Motown and Silk Sonic under a star-rushed sky is an invitation to death. I couldn't do it. I can't do it. Don't get me wrong. I am so grateful for the gift. The RV can be rented or lived in if times get tougher. I still haven't touched the title or the envelope it came in. It hurts to touch it. Feels a little too heavy in my hand. I will fly to see my boys. And the only thing in my hands will be their favorite cookies and heartfelt invitation to come see me anytime. The nightmares have stopped. My boys are still in Odessa. And me, well, I'm not moving to Texas anymore. You all are so kind and so sweet. I've got one more piece for you. This is This is where you get to make noise. There are instructions in the poem. This poem is special only that this has ended just about every show that I have done in the last 40 years. The usual question is why? What made you be a poet? I've heard about how death turned some people, jail time, bad fortune. I can't claim any of that. I am a poet because even at 5, you know when the Lord is talking to you. I am a poet because God laid his hand on me and said, here am I, now speak.
Amen.
So if you hear something in this poem you know and believe, say amen.
Amen.
If you hear something you don't know but want to believe, sing well. And if you don't know and can't believe, then tip your waiter and prove you tried to keep Trump the hell out of office, so you have done something useful with your sorry self. I am a poet because love laid its light on my parents' marriage.
Amen.
They held each other's hearts like jewels, polished with 5 girls, money problems, fights, and good times, so that when my mother said no to the chemo, no to the surgery, no to the cancer, she died smiling in my father's arms. I am a poet because every 7 seconds a woman is raped, because every 2 minutes a child is molested, because every half hour somebody dies alone. And every hour on the hour, government commits genocide while big business pats itself on the back. Because I applaud innovation, but tradition is the fire at which my soul warms itself. I am a poet because my nephew's smiles hang the stars. I have friends and sisters whose personal job it is in life to mess with me all the time. Because my baby misses me so bad when I'm away and loves me back home so sweet. I am a poet because using the language properly is like good sex. If you can't stroke it, kiss it, taste it, and then lay it down till it screams with every intended passion, keep your damn mouth shut. I am a poet because of Aretha Franklin, Langston Hughes, Mahalia Maya, and Dylan Thomas, Mary Evans, Sonia Sanchez, Gato Barbieri, Nora Jones, Duke Ellington, and Shaka Khan. Because of Alexander Dumas, Per Aphis, Nikki Giovanni, Raymond Chandler, Tina Marie, and Johann Sebastian Bach. I am a poet because when Smokey sang, let me be the clock for the time of your life, every woman in the world said, tick-tock, baby. I am a poet because when I was wrong, my parents did not medicate, therapy, or offer alternative behaviors. They smacked my hand, whipped my butt, and made me hold my head up to say, I'm sorry. I am a poet because I am a black woman in a white world whose prayers to the ancestors bring down fire from the sky that I kiss into the diamonds I want to hang in your ears, because the words retard, fag, slut, nigga bitch are still accepted and recognized parts of conversation. I am a poet because Sacagawea got jacked up on the gold dollar, Cleopatra was a sister, and because rejecting European standards of beauty, I roll out every morning so damn fine that I am illegal in all 50 states and most of the U.S. territories. I am a poet because I know God, because I know he laid his hand on me and said, here am I. Now speak.
Give it up one more time for Miss Stacy Ardis. I'm a poet because of that. In no way, shape, or form do I ever want to try to correct you. That's not what I'm doing. But just so people know, not many people know this. Her name was actually Sangewea, not Sacagawea. That's what the white culture turned it into. Sangewea is Lakota for cane woman or wood woman. That was her actual name. So just, not that I'm correcting you at all. Just letting everyone know. Chauvinistic responses. Twould seem I prefer moral advocates over devil's advocates. Police straight don't give a shit. We're still watching them get away with it. F you and all your toxic masculinity. Now we fear our flag. Civil War II now in the neighborhood near you. Try not to be black. Civil War II now in a neighborhood near you. What if you were black? One more time, I'd like to say we are celebrating Black American heritage today, or as a good friend, the next poet coming up, coined it Black Future Month, because we need to look forward, not behind. It's my honor and a gift to present to you Mr. Billy Tuggle, who is a vocalist, performance poet, teaching artist, and parent. A lover of literary games, he is a poetry slam and head-to-head haiku competitor, winning the head-to-head haiku national championship in 2015. Billy co-hosts Chicago's In 1 Ear open mic, which is super sweet. I've been there. If you're ever in Chicago, check it out because it's awesome. And the Haiku Dojo Workshop series. His latest chapbook, Incantation, shares poems of urban life with metaphysical and supernatural overtones, and I'm sure he has copies if you want to purchase them from him. Just talk to him afterwards. You can also find, because we need to pay poets, you can also find some of his works archived at Button Poetry, Outdoor Vehicles in an Indoor World, and other portals of the interwebs. He currently, which is more than just a system of tubes and wires, by the way, for those of you who don't know. He currently spreads his message all over the world through the use of the Interverse. And today we actually have him in person. So welcome for the first time to San Diego, California, all the way from the slaughterhouse capital of the world. Please give it up for Mr. Billy Tuggle.
Before I get started, please give some more of that wonderful percussive noise back for Miss Stacy Dyson.
Yes!
I'm a poet, a writer, performer, but I didn't come to poetry academically. I came to it like sort of an accident as a performer. I fronted bands and stuff like that. So right now, how you gonna make me follow that? She just Little Richard me, y'all. Little Richard used to tell people, I will open and then I will let you follow me and deal with it. Thanks. Appreciate you. My name is Billy Tuggle and I am an Afrofuturist poet from Chicago. There's a natural mystic blowing through the air. If you listen carefully now, you will hear. This could be the first trumpet, might as well be the last. Many more will have to suffer, many more will have to die. Don't ask me why. Things are not the way they used to be. I'm celebrating 3 birthdays this week. Mine, Robert Nesta Marley, and Sandra Bland. No more questions. If the name Rodney King means anything to you, don't ask. If you are old enough to recall Richard Pryor wax comedic about LAPD chokeholds, or how he shot up his own car and retreated as the police approached his own house, recalling what they do with their magnums, don't ask. If you've never fit the description, don't open your mouth. If you've never had your spouse's gaze check and unmarked as 12 gazes at your menacing black ass walk from the corner with groceries, don't ask. If you think Sandra Bland killed herself, we probably are not friends. You know a good one who ain't turning in the bad ones, don't say shit else. If you can't tell a pistol from a stun gun by its weight, its gravity, or the reputation of the user, stop bothering. If you can't see the blue line that separates brown bodies from uniforms, you probably won't recognize a lynch mob and have the audacity to demand that black athletes stand mute for a slaver's anthem. Fuck out of here. If our reply to you is, but did they deserve to die? Choose your next phrase with the care that I choose my allies. Don't ask about the criminal record. Don't ask about family life. Don't ask about the toxicology report like you tried not to ask if Officer Friendly went too far. Before you bring me but and Why or did they comply? Google it. Hit my Cash App. You watch the video. Black people, indigenous peoples, brown people, stop answering. Stop having these conversations with devil's advocates and stand on the truth of our perils. To the devil and advocates, you have dismissed previous discourse with verdicts and legislation, with statistics and blinders. The clock is running out. Keep rigging the game, moving the goalposts, changing the questions. I promise you will not like our final answer. In about a quarter of a century of doing performance poetry, this is the very, very first time that I have ever performed south of Santa Cruz, California, in this state. Thank you for having me, San Diego. It is beautiful here. Let me tell you something. I just turned 52 years old on Tuesday. Let me tell you something. San Diego, for those of you who've not left this town much, if you're from here, San Diego looks just like San Diego. It's the craziest shit. Postcards, the TV shows, everything. It looks just like San Diego. It's awesome. I love it. One of the reasons I'm very happy to be here is in 2017, I was a banned author right here in this state, in this county. There was an anthology called Not My President. If you see it in bookstores and libraries, it has a very ugly caricature of the former president on it. And in August of 2017, that book was released by Thought Crime Press. The book hit the San Diego County Library System, and they tried to ban it. And I was ready to, get my sign and wave it and come out here and act a complete total fool. As I'm reading this on Google, the very next article, oh, that article was a week old. The whole thing resolved itself. So for 1 week, people, can we stop the whole book banning shit? Like, for real. Like, absolutely. If there's anybody within the sound of my voice that disagrees with me culturally, politically, any of that, I'm glad you're here because you show more bravery than half of your cohorts. But we don't have to be banning books and stuff like that. We really don't. So that is the number one reason why I'm very happy to be here and read poems. Let's get into something very, very new. That last poem was new. This one is even a little newer. My upcoming book later this year from Swimming with Elephants Press is called When a Tree Falls in the Hood. If you ask the tree, for days, the trees have marveled at the startling silence of pandemic. The lack of audacity carried on a fresher breeze. Even on a stormy day, you can hear raindrops below you. With the absence of so many footsteps, rolling machines, and much entitlement, it might even tempt them to spread their roots a bit. Half a block away, a giant stretches towards another season in the heavy wind. A tree bends, perilous ballet without breaking limbs. That was it. Thank you. Let's do this. Because I know that Southern California is a bastion, at least it has been in the 90s, a bastion of hip hop culture. LA and San Diego have some of the best breakers and graffiti writers that this country has produced. For those of you that do not know, despite what the Grammys is telling you, the music industry stroking itself over 50 years of hip hop, they're not celebrating 50 years of hip hop. They are celebrating 39 years of giving out record deals. This is the celebration of 50 years of hip hop. The craft of motion tagging is a dance with gravity, a battle with inertia itself, rubber wrist, granite shoulder. When the train hits that curve at 30 miles per hour, we got subways and shit in Chicago. When the train hits that curve at 30 miles per hour, knees bent, lean with the rumble and sway. Maintain your stance and apply that mean sig even as the operator applies brakes. Olympic balance beam shit. This craft is muscle memory, guiding perfect penmanship even when the lights go out. Block stars go all av trying to paint the moon. These are the fabled midnight marauders. Before the cans and the walls, this autograph session is the meet and greet just outside your bedroom window. This wide tips and stickers ritual is so that you get acquainted with the style. See, we don't want to blow your minds all at once. I know, it's a stupid thing to get locked up for. But I know that it's a stupid thing to lock a kid up for when they're trapped on the outside. Tell me, what do you know about I can't do this at home? They don't give a shit at school. This is how my homies exercise fear of being locked out of homes their families could barely afford to live in. This is the release of stress from everyday professors saying, your abstracts contain too much city concrete. Motherfucker, I'm from the city. My name is all I have. This is meditation. Your drab walls need to be covered in promise. This is thank you or middle finger to the art critics. Rock the glove that fits. Here is where the criminals meet the artists with propellant under their tongues and fistful of style, all while using 360 degrees of peripheral vision all while using 360 degrees of peripheral vision to scope out rival crews and undercovers looking to blow up the spot. Keep charging them with petty crime. Tax dollars and escalating train fares maintain this noise pollution, these alloyed carriages, all this iron and sweat. Some citizens autograph it a little every day. It's a better view than advertising in traffic. You're welcome. Hi, my name is Billy Tuggle. I'm from Chicago, and I am a hip-hop poet. I am an Afrofuturist poet. But this is also Black History Month. How many of you are familiar with the name Yasuke? Ooh, good, because I have a story. A couple hands, good. I have a story to tell you. There may have been more, but history could not find them, and it's sort of a legend. There's no details. This poem is called Katana Black. It actually was a series of short poems about Yasuke, the legendary African samurai. We don't know that he actually existed. There was probably more than one, which is how come the stories were able to propagate themselves. But this is the one that we know of. There's been anime done, there's been movies made, etc. You read what he did after he was discovered. Tales of extraordinary strength and fortitude under another man's flag in the name of another man's house. Who really knows the tree from which this seed has blown so far away from the wind that shook its branch and stirred sea current that carried it, the land that embraced it, the rising sun and trembling soil that nurtured it? The blackest samurai that history could find had everything in common with the future of those who share his roots. But once Yasuke learned that all masters have masters, then wars of nations become less important than the battle for his own agency. 2. It is not the metal or the ancient process creating a tamahang, but the craftsmanship that pulls ferocious art from smith's fire, not the days of polish that create the reflection of rivers and enemy eyes. It is the hand, entrusted with combat and diplomacy, given weapon before pen, before seed, before thread, before own child's hand. It is the heart, stone, closed to all but the warlord. It is the aim, this branch of mahogany, a smiting from an arm of a god atop a mighty obelisk, swung through time, remembered as legend. It is the will and consciousness, for good or bad, that are the edge of the blade. 3. Others, the native born, the countrymen, nobles, aspiring to throne seat through sword grip, will shun wife, ignore children and elders in futile fealty of tax collecting and keeping the battle from their master's gates. In service of their lord, in shadow of empire, there is only battle between being and death. Battle is being. What is freedom here? For a man whose own home is colony carved and distant, and the strength of 5 of the locals his only asset. 4. So the shogun says to the samurai, I wish a ninja would. 5. The initial clang was harsh enough to almost vibrate weapons from hands, sword drawn on reflex, spin, swing to defend, reverse, clang, steel on steel, shriek at impact as metal slides on itself in a mating war of tools as you show your foe terminal defeat. Nauseating plunge of steel into flesh and subtle pop of ribs muted by blood gush in wounds and organs, I swear. You can feel my sword's hilt, front to back. Immediately follows the elegant whoosh of my katana through the air, meeting thump of contact with throat. His defeat was as honorable as it was quick. Blade to blade, eye to eye. 6. When your master's house is burned, capital pillaged, war lost, ritual suicide is no option, except when your whole life from bondage in European hands to freedom through exotification is worth the next man hearing as you polish your sword, hidden by locals and sympathy while legends rise. Thank you. One more from the beginning of the pandemic. I'll do 2 more. Going home from the very first day that the state of Illinois shut down. Rainy, somewhere between drizzle and shower, temperate, last day of winter, with schoolhouses empty, except meal program, counting minutes between cars on side streets, counting feet between passengers on public transit. Monday becomes a day called curfew, cross-country polite, without tanks, and theoretical tolerance. We now put a clock on a virus, and patience, on community, and ethic, and hope in our back pockets. My daughter just turned 10 last fall, and at the beginning of this whole thing, it's like, Daddy, what are we supposed to? I'm like, I don't know. The last pandemic was 100 years ago. What do I look like? I'm going to do one more. Thank you all so much. This has been awesome. Bear, thank you for having me. Let me see. How do I want to finish this? I know how I want to finish this. I want to finish this with some more hip-hop shit. Finish this with a little bit more up. What I said earlier about the music industry stroking itself over 39 years of record deals. Next year, yes, in Paris, you will find that hip-hop is officially an Olympic sport by way of breaking. I said in 1984, when the Olympic Games were in Los Angeles and I was 13 years old, and they had breakers the opening ceremony, and gymnasts were stealing breaking moves. I told my grandmother, we will be an Olympic sport eventually. Watch. She told me, boy, you are just ridiculous. Told ya! But we're going to talk about the other hip-hop. I am an art criminal, as displayed through an earlier poem that I did. Bear mentioned that I have a book with me. Incantation is not the book that I have with me. That was a limited edition chapbook. I have a book called The Way of the B-Boy, which is the actual celebration of hip-hop and its culture. The breakers, the graffiti writers, the MCs, the DJs, the beatboxers, the fashionistas, the street ballers, the whole 9 yards. They tell us we don't own these streets and tunnels. Not like we ever had much of anything to start with. Even with Titanic talent, we are labeled vandal, misfit, sociopath. I let my name take ownership, made my neighborhood a panoramic that melted the frame, turned trains into 3D sculpture with characters that followed passengers on and off, gymnastics that leaped from sketchbooks, turning them into mixtape, encyclopedia. Scrolls traded amongst monks, style transmitted across town and across borders. These window etchers, they wouldn't know Etch a Sketch from Escher. I heard your neighbor whooped your ass, not for the graffiti on his garage, but because your shit sucks. Now you want to play with the big kids. Audacity's a given. You got a wreck shop like Christmas Eve. The only thing hot about your technique is stolen paint. Here, take the sidewalk chalk, get the fuck out of my face. Battling should not be on the agenda until you check the syllabus. History. History is taught only to the victors. History. I have bonked this poem. I have performed this poem 102 million times. It is on all deaf poetry. I have bonked it. So let's back up a few lines.
You got this, boy.
This is crazy.
Just turned 52.
No, but also I smoke a lot of pot. Like for 20 years in California before it was legal to smoke a lot of pot. So we change up the formula. Let's just do a completely different poem. Same topic. Are you ready? Wait, do we want it? I don't even think I've got that. I don't even think I have that.
At least it's not a slam. I did that at a slam.
Yeah, that only happens one time. You do that in one slam, only happens one time. Let's completely change it up. Because I already did a graffiti poem, right? Let's change it up. Where are the rock and roll fans? Wow. So let me get this straight. At 52 years old, I'm a Gen Xer. It's official. Rock and roll is dead now, right? Because I saw like 3 hands in the air. They screamed that all through the 90s when Pearl Jam and Nirvana and all them were hot. Where are the rock and roll fans out here? Okay. As I said, I came to performance poetry not as an academic, but as a performer. Here's a poem about when I was a front man in bands. Thank you all for hanging out. I greatly appreciate it. This is called Obsidian Weight Champions. Obsidian. A volcanic rock, technically glass, can be as brittle as brilliant, very heavy in large deposits, craft blade dangerous, when fresh, too hot to handle, can sharpen to surgical precision. These obsidian weight champions will bring a rock, massive and iridescent, edges so sharp that turntable stylus becomes weaponized, cuts that your local college DJ can't resist. Broadcasts will come with warning disclaimers. This band's gonna sound like Earth heaving, grace under pressure until magma and steam create a vent the hard way. Megaton blast, radiation and fallout encore. Gonna sound like Shango shaming the devil at a block party at the crossroads. This band is live alligator in your whiskey, locomotives revving underground, melting the track in their wake. This band gonna sound like Great Migration through Marshall Stacks. This band gonna be djembe, DJ, and effect pedal. Gonna bleed unadulterated acid soul, hip hop, even if ignored the beat drop. Jazz finger solos versus blues tempos, gut bucket woofers, and gospel tweeters. This band gonna be the baddest, like kids at recess cussing with a motherfucking bullhorn. This band gonna escape every attic rehearsal with a taste for riot, a fuse lit by the funk, hit the switch, hit the goddamn pit. Come get some of this shrapnel and angst, stomp and sway in all this gravity. This band gonna sound like a frontman's last 100 spent on a long distance audition after flunking 2 midterms. Think you can see us in a battle of the bands? You got a problem on your hands. See a griot reading the news and fortunes in motions of the mosh, sounding like freeform poetry with ancestors whispering in the monitors. Hit him again, my child. Hit him again. This band will accompany Funeral Pyre and Phoenix Rising. Gonna sound like sub-Saharan diasporic litanies and anthems. This band gonna sound like lift every voice and chant up the sound. Babylon, you're throwing a guan down. This rock, a fragile danger, gotta be handled with love. We arrive not just to rock a party, and in all stages of matter. Sweating electric current through dark matter. Keeping current on dark matters. Keeping current while in the dark matters, like all descendants of Sister Rosetta. The obsidian weights will remix time, shred space, scratch surface to core, ignite the biggest bang with talking drum, lightning fury, and kinetic coda. Thank you very much. Woo!
Give it up one more time for Billy Tuggle. Give it up. And Miss Stacy, Ardis, Dyson, again, amazing. Thank you. We're going to take about 10, 15 minutes and do a Q&A. Like, this is, part of the program today is not just to come and hear poetry, but it's to help us understand why we do it, why it exists. And with the idea that we hear marginalized voices through poetry, the first question that I would like to ask to both of our poets is, why do you feel that poetry specifically is the avenue that most of us choose, people who come from marginalized communities, that we choose this poetry as a way to get our voices heard? So I'm going to ask both poets if they wouldn't mind answering that question.
It's simple, really. It's poetry. First of all, the line between poetry and music is artificial. It doesn't actually exist. Music is the one thing that makes it everywhere. It is the first thing that everyone hears. And no matter where you are or how you're existing, it will weave and wind its way through everything. Music will come through a crack in a wall. Okay? Music will come in a raindrop. Music will whisper in your ear when there's actually no physical reason for you to hear it. It's there, it's always there. And that is why this medium is the one that we use, because if you can find something that gets in anywhere and everywhere and speaks to everyone, then that's the weapon you
Um, I think that's like really really dead on. I the only thing I could really add to that is probably a little bit anthropological. Um, you said it seems it's really easy that marginalized voices find poetry like that. Have you noticed that almost all brown people have some kind of oral tradition? And when I say oral tradition, I don't mean just like, speaking or being a town crier or whatever. I mean, literally, you carry the stories, the news, the entertainment, everything for your village, for your tribe, for your family. On top of that, everybody has a voice. Everybody doesn't necessarily have the skill to be quote unquote beautiful with their voice or with their hands and their fingers to play instruments, but this is the one instrument that everybody has. And to not be ableist, even in the abstract, you still have a voice. Even if you're writing, even, however you're communicating, everybody has a voice. Everybody has a reason to express themselves. And as far as poetry goes, we don't always necessarily want to tell it to you directly. Sometimes it wants to be wrapped up in a metaphor or a simile. Sometimes it's to make you come to us to actually hear it and to understand exactly what we're talking about. And I think that that's probably the biggest reason that we gravitate towards it. Because, like I said, I came to poetry as a musician, specifically as a vocalist who, as much as I like hip hop music, could not rap. I'm a terrible MC. But as a singer and a vocalist, somebody who cannot keep several other egos, including my own, 4 or 5 other egos together in a band to keep doing this thing. So I had to find some form or fashion to express myself. But it wasn't just about entertaining you or entertaining myself by entertaining you. It's because I had something to say, whether it was giving a voice to trees or to talk about shitty cops. There's always something to talk about.
And then I'm going to go ahead and turn out questions over to the audience. And I have one more quick question. In one of your poems, Stacy, you had mentioned sundown towns. Not everyone knows what a sundown town is. Can you explain that, please?
use. A sundown town is where if you're a person of color, you need to be out of town by the time the sun sets. And if you think that, oh, that's just a myth, no, it's not. If you think, oh, that doesn't exist anymore, yeah, they do.
Can't you own land like there too? You can own land in the sundown town.
You can own land there, but they better not see you there after the sun sets.
I just got.
And you had a question?
You said hip hop influenced you a lot and rock, but if your musical taste changed, do you think you would still have the same idea and make the same poetry? Like, let's say you grew up in a time of like oldies or where Motown was big, or let's say you like country, Johnny Cash. Like, would you feel the same in your senses? Do you think you would have the same?
Absolutely. I want to say that out loud just real quick. Absolutely, because first of all, hip hop as an influence is not about music. Um, if anybody's missed it, we'll say it again. Hip hop is way bigger than the music that it's produced. When people talk about hip hop, the first thing that they go to is rap music. And for starters, Rap is only one of the genres that hip hop has produced. Hip hop has produced its own electronic music. Hip hop has produced the art of turntablism. Hip hop has produced all kinds. There's hip hop music without rapping in it. I also share my birthday with the late great Jay Dilla, who's one of the great producers of the genre. But when I speak of hip hop, I speak of the art and culture of transformation, of urban transformation. I speak of the art and culture of remixing life around me. Grandmaster Caz once said, "Hip hop didn't invent anything; we remixed everything." Hip hop is the urban art of taking what they leave us and turning it into something beautiful. Hip hop is what happened when, in 1977, the city of New York blacked out, and then all of a sudden, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, everybody was a DJ. Everybody had DJ equipment. Everybody made mixtapes. Everybody sold mixtapes. Everybody put their friends on who could rap. Everybody who put their friends on who could rap now did shows. Everybody who could do shows now got the attention of promoters and record label people. Record label people then gave them money to make records. The money that you took to make records and to do shows, you raised your family with, you made a living with, becomes a culture. It's not just a genre. So hip hop's music has had a great influence on me, but hip hop itself is not something you do. Rap is something you do. Hip hop is something you are.
It's like I like drill. Like when I first started, I'm curious what that is. I use it for work now.
Okay.
Like get this hooked up.
Right on. Does anyone else have any questions? Please, yes? I'm sure you have questions.
I got two. One for you, Billy, and then one for you, Stacy. One for you, Billy, is like, who's your favorite hip hop artist? Someone I can listen to.
Which is the absolute hip hop thing to say. Hip hop is I am absolute badass in the room, and you can't tell me that I'm not. However, it's also collaborative and showing mutual love. My absolute favorite hip hop artists are all from Chicago, my age, and most of you don't know any of them because in the 90s, everybody was too busy falling all over themselves over the Chronic and Notorious B.I.G. and Tupac. So, get your phones out, get your pens out. I want you to look up MC Juice. I want you to look up All Natural. I want you to look up Grime Fest, which is a name that you may have heard. I want you to look up Ange 13. I want you to look up Chicago hip hop in the 90s. Then I want you to find me on either Instagram or Facebook and we can have this conversation together. You like Dead Friends? I love Dead Friends. Addendum to that short answer, in 1997, Marshall Mathers was competing in a battle called Scribble Jam and was beaten by two MCs named Grime Fest and Juice. Look them up.
Nice. Thank you.
Look them up.
And your question, Stacey, was like, who'd you be like the most influential historical figure for you? Like, who's motivated you the most in some of your writing or some written material? Yeah, just first one that comes to mind. Or first three, I don't know.
I can't even do that because I don't exist in that sort of plane as far as my writing or my performing is concerned. And then it breaks down to, are we talking about poets? Are we talking about musicians? Are we talking of, who? Historical figures, they all live right here with me. Okay, this is like picking your favorite child. Okay, if I have to choose, I can't ever. It's always I can give you the list. Okay, but as far as that one right there, that did it for me. That person, no. That name I cannot call because then I would have to call all of them.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of when my daughter asked me what my favorite color is. I'm like, there's a reason why I like all the colors. Like, I like pink because of this. I like green because of this. So that's what your answer reminded me of. But my question for you, Stacy, is you said the church. So I was just wondering, do you have like a life verse that stood out to you? I know that's another question like his, but like, is there a life verse?
No, because again, we're talking about it's all poetry. Yeah. And so, there are verses, that I throw into conversation like people do. The one that has been on my mind lately is I will lift up mine eyes to the hills from whence cometh my help, for a whole bunch of reasons that really don't, they really aren't relevant to this conversation. But again, you're talking about, not in all of the Bible, but in a lot of it, pure poetry. And again, we're talking about, okay, how do I pick my favorite kid? Music is music. So, separate notes for me. It doesn't happen that way.
You refer to melodies or the lyrics. Melodies or lyrics.
Both.
Both.
I'm definitely lyrics first.
Yeah.
To a fault.
I think you're off.
Well, again, I don't make that decision, so.
Can we get another question back here?
Hello. I'd like to ask you guys both, where do you think imagination comes from, and what meaning does it have in our lives?
Yeah, Julie can answer that first.
That's deep. That's hella deep. I have a slight grasp on it because I have a theory. How many only children are out here? So if you're an only child, imagination is almost a reflex. Because there's just going to be those times where you have to entertain yourself, or you have to literally figure out the next scenario of the thing that you're doing, whether or not you're going to get in trouble. So imagination for an only child is both entertainment and business. But it's, as far as being a creative goes, imagination is really, it's any place that we've put ourselves where we don't necessarily, where we have not yet seen ourselves, or we have not seen ourselves in a favorable position. And that could even be a dream, that could even be a bad dream. I'm a lucid dreamer. I can sort of manipulate my dreams. So if I'm having a nightmare, if I find myself in an unfavorable position, I can sort of maneuver myself from it. And to me, that's really what writing is. Songwriting, poetry, fiction is using that imagination to put yourself, your person, your persons into a more favorable light, favorable situation. That's what Afrofuturism is. It's black people, it's African people, it's people of the African diaspora, seeing ourselves in places where America and Europe never, not only did not see us, but never intended for us to go. Is us talking about, oh, not only do you see us here now, but you see that over there, we're coming. So make the space. But where that's not yet realized, that is what your imagination is. It's your own forward vision, but sometimes it's as necessary to create or get yourself out of a situation as it is to create the world to put yourself into escape.
I am here by virtue of what if. Okay. Um, every one that is created is as a result of imagination. What if? What if we do this? My people have managed to be where they are for as long as they have been here without all of us dying off, because somewhere in the back of our heads we are born with what if. What if I push? What if I stay? What if I try to thrive? What if I absolutely survive? So it's all imagination. And I am here as a result of that. What I do is a result of that. Where does it come from? It depends on, for some people, it depends on what religious fancy you follow. For other people, it's, well, I sat in my room every day and colored, castles for 15 years or whatever. Okay. I don't think it's so important where it comes from. I think the important part is acknowledging it and using it as a springboard to everything, and I mean everything else. Because, especially for folks like me, if it's not there, you're not breathing.
We're about running out of time, so I want to thank one more time. I want to thank the committee. I want to thank the lead office for supporting and sponsoring this event. I want to thank Miramar College for giving us a space to have this event, and I want to thank Billy Tuggle and Stacy Ardis Dyson for coming here and joining us. And I just want to close out with a quick reminder to us, because we do this and we get up on stage and we're the center of attention, and it's important for us to recognize that we ain't nothing. Like the truth ain't nothing. Like the truth ain't nothing but the truth. We ain't nothing but a bunch of spoken word artists. Now, a few have accused me of being a teacher, and some even go so far as to call me a friend, but I'm just a punk half-breed recovering drunk trying to hold up my own end when they tell us to hold our fire, but we can see the whites of their lives printed right there in our textbooks, framed by the red and the blue of the powers that be. The same ones that turn the letter X into a commodity, and the indigenous nations into a mystery. So now from sea to shining sea, we have kids who can't even cross their own hearts or dot their third eye, so they can't even recognize that their spirit is being bled into a bottle that will soon be spun for no one. And whenever I question why we're stuck in standardized tests, I'm told to mind my own P's and Q's and just keep on marching to their tune. Like I'm supposed to be strapping on army boots when I should be marching with 1,000,000 men and women down that historic route, so we can find the story's roots before they just traded in their red coats for blue. And now they have the nerve to carve the conqueror's faces in Mount Screwmore, overlooking the spiritual significance of the incomplete Crazy Horse Monument, pointing towards unfinished business about ancient tribal societies, when it was all about family and metaphor was reality. And we all understood that trickster coyote, well, he might have busted some double talk, but it wasn't until the Great White Father showed up that everyone started speaking with forked tongue. And if we could just catch them young, then maybe they'd learn to use their chromosomes like algebra and biology, where X plus X equals life and breath. Y and Y only make two things, Jack and shh. But Jack is still so obsessed with his own candlestick that he don't even recognize there ain't no trick to getting Jill up that hill, because no matter how nimble he is with his skills, he's just too damn quick. Quick to play the rabbit when the trouble hits. But I guess that's how it goes when you're forced to grow on recycled poetry and pre-owned prose like Yo MTV selling out the movement to Starbucks, spinning their straw into their gold. And since wisdom is imprisoned in old folks' homes and children are left sleepwalking through Sega Dreamcast instead of casting their dreams into every grain of sand, so while their thumbs go numb, entire oceans spill right through their hands. But there has got to be a way to save the day, even if the Aztecs and the Mayans say in that Atlantis kind of way that we only have a few years left. We have still got to end all this theft and relearn our ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, because once we have the propensity to see that there are far more than just 3 wise men and women who deserve to be heard, then history will be alive and well and living in spoken word. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for encouraging our behavior. Both of these amazing artists have books. Please come talk to them. Please purchase them. We're going to be here for at least another half hour before we get to class. So come meet them, talk to them, buy stuff. Thank you all for being here. Thank you.
Thank you for enabling me, Bear.
Anytime.
Big thanks to Bear for organizing. And a big thanks to Bear for organizing and bringing Stacy and Bear. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. I do. Since 71, they have everything else. Can I also say that y'all are probably one of the best audiences I've done? I've been in front of for a college show before. Yeah. Kind of. Oh, by all means, thank you. Thank you. Silent, like, just sort of there. Like, I can see everybody's expression gaze. This is like, so you can see it. Cash or electronics. Cash App. Not like 200, but they got this show where as a so I'm like, yeah, like, you know, I knew I was going to do 3 weeks or something, but also not